Hey Metalheads, welcome to another episode of Metal Academics. Who's the band we're listening to this time?
Eluveitie.
Yeah.
Do you know it?
Yeah, I know it, but I didn't know if it was Eluveitie or Eluveitie.
It's basically, think about Switzerland in Latin or in French, Helvetia, and you will get the origin of the name.
Eluveitie.
Yeah, Helvetia. So Helvetii, like the people of Swiss in Latin or French.
Are they Swiss?
Yeah.
Okay.
They are Swiss and very proud of it. A lot of their inspiration comes from the history of the country, from the natural landscape. They have their most famous song, which we're not going to play, is called Call of the Mountains. Mm-hmm. And it's all about the Alps, and the Alps feature in many of their songs.
How can they not?
How can they not? And I mean, it defines the country in every shape or form. So obviously, if you're Swiss, you have to have a relationship with those mountains, and so they do. The band is founded in 2002 by the lead male singer, I want to say, and his name is Kriegel Glanzmann. And he is the founder and the one member that has been always present in the band since the first attempt to get together. 9 members. There are 9 people in this band. And that's quite a big crowd to coordinate.
That's bigger. I think Brothers of Metal is 8.
8, right? Yeah. I wanted to ask you exactly. The profile of the band is folk metal, and they call themselves as launching, if not belonging, only to the new wave of folk metal, because besides being inspired by Celtic rhythms and the folklore of the Swiss Alps, they also draw from melodic death metal, and in particular the early Gothenburg sound. Mm-hmm. Dark tranquility and in flames in particular. So we will hear some growling and harsh vocals side by side with clean male and clean female vocals, very melodious as such, and a multitude of instruments that I think I will not talk so much because we will see them, and then I will see how many of these can you identify.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's what I'll pay attention to during the song. How many instruments?
How many instruments? Because you can definitely get lost into it. So their success was foregrounded in 2008 with their album called Slania, from which we will hear their song Inis Mona. This album altogether is very, very, very nice, and it really launches the band's style. Once you hear that album, you will recognize Eluveitie from any other subsequent albums. Is that one, even though it's not their debut. It's their, I think, second album. But anyway, so let's give it a listen to Inis Mona, and then we'll comment some more afterwards. Pay attention to the instruments.
I will. Count them out.
Questions, the country of war.
So cool, I think. I love these sounds. Did you identify the instruments?
No, 8.
There's so many. Yeah, I think maybe there are 8. There's definitely violin. And a big shout out to the violinist hair, the most beautiful hair. Also, I think in English it's called hurdy-gurdy. You know, the one like it looks...
The wooden thing?
The wooden thing with both strings and keys. I think it's called hurdy-gurdy because it sounds like hurdy-gurdy. And then we have Southern European bagpipes, so not the Scottish bagpipes.
Yeah, with the skull. That was cool.
With the head of a...
What other metal bands have bagpipes?
There must be, definitely.
I think that
some.
stills the show. That and the flute.
And the tin flute is always going to be there. Is Kriegel's own instrument, and you can almost always see or hear a solo for the tin flute, and I love it. It's very, very cool.
Yeah.
The drums and the guitar and the bass are like the back end, and the front end is all these ethnic instruments. I think it's an interesting setup, and that kind of defines again the sound of the band. Inis Mona, from what I read, but maybe again I'm wrong, so correct me if there's other interpretations out there. But Inis Mona is supposed to be an island where the druids, that are the Gaelic priests or the equivalent of shamans, would gather and have their education. So Mon, it means island in their Gaulish language, and that makes me think that there's an island in Denmark called Møn. So maybe there's some relationship there linguistically. That is the reason why I got into this band. The reason why I got into this band is the language, because they obviously sing in English, as you've heard, but they also do sing in Gaulish, which is an extinct language, and I'm a huge sucker for any kind of weird languages. That's why I like the Who with the Mongolian and Eluveitie with Gaulish. They basically are the only ones, as far as I know, that have attempted to reconstruct the sounds of Gaulish language, because it disappeared as it was assimilated into today's French and German and so on, and eaten up or converted into with the help of Latin.
Yeah, makes sense with the folkish connection. Right?
Yeah. It's very complicated. I got sucked into a very, very deep rabbit hole about the ramifications of Celtic languages. I will not get you into that rabbit hole yourselves, but let me just say that it's very, very interesting to see a band so rooted in history. These guys know their history, and they really go to the sources. They know about the first names in Gaulish, the queens and kings that were defining of their of that particular population in Europe before the conquest by the Romans. Famously, Caesar, who wrote the Gaulish War and so on. So they were very much historically interested, and the only ones that I know who have attempted to reconstruct the language. So the next song that we're going to listen to comes from their album of 2012 called Helveticos, which gives you obviously the focus being on Switzerland. And the name of the song is Luxtos. We're going to see a lyrics video just so that everyone gets the Gaulish...
so we all know what they're singing about.
Yeah, only they do, only the authors of the text, but there's some English in as well, so cool. We'll have an idea.
Yeah, super cool.
Such a happy song. You can dance to this until you lose your mind. It's so much fun. I love it. And that's also kind of a typical thing I wanted to illustrate, not only the language, which is totally out there, right? But also that some of the songs are really metal and really like melodic death metal, dominated by that rhythm and growls and all. Some other songs on the same albums can be very melodic and pretty much folk metal classic, not new wave, right? We've also listened briefly to the voice of Anna Murphy, who used to be their female lead vocal and also the hurdy-gurdy responsible. And
hurdy-gurdy responsible.
Yeah, she's so funny. Like in many, many videos and what I've seen, I have not seen them play live, but I've seen some recordings. Everyone is like, you know, grooving really hard, headbanging, and she's just standing there and singing or playing very, very statuesque. But she left the band relatively recently, for basically 2.5 albums ago, if I want to say so, together with the drummer and I don't remember if it's the guitar, the rhythm guitar, or the bass, but at least 3 members of the original band left with her and founded another band in the same kind of genre. So the last song that we will listen to will not feature Anna's vocals, but a new singer called Fabienne Edney, and she's really very, very good. I cannot. Usually, when you switch vocals, there are a lot of pains of transformation. I don't think the band has suffered anything from embracing the new singer. She brings a very clear voice, great experience, and also she sings in Gaulish just as much as Anna used to do. So to wrap it up, we will listen to a song from their latest album from 2019, the album called Ategnatos, again one of these special language words, but the song is in English and is called Rebirth. The interesting part about this, there's several things, but one thing that is worth to comment on the album as a whole and on this particular song is that for once, guitars are getting to be solo instruments, because I think the dominating trope prior to this 2019 album has been that these folk instruments, in particular the tin flute, but also the hurdy-gurdy and the bagpipes, would be the lead soloists.
Right.
And I think in this particular song, it's quite noticeable that the guitars get to be at the forefront, and they have 2 of them.
Okay.
So let's listen to Rebirth. The reason why I chose this and not some other song is particularly because they also had a official video. So we'll get to also see them in action, and the new leader, new female lead singer.
Let's do it.
Exploding world
What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy this mashup of, this is based on an Irish folk melody.
Yeah, I do. And I don't know. I think my critique still holds of this when you have the female vocals with the harsh screaming vocals. It's kind of like, I can do without the screaming vocals. I mean, I think in this song, because I know the band has some that are just female.
Yeah,
led,
again.
and those are the songs that I personally like. So, yeah, it's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
I don't really like I don't like that contrast that you see in, from Brothers of Metal, for example.
I think Brothers of Metal is the closest that comes in comparison, but Brothers of Metal doesn't have this folkish
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that element of it. I think you're right that the bringing in the guitars more in the solo is. I like that, but I do. It's funny the contrast between they look super modern, but they're playing these old instruments. It's really interesting.
Where did you ever see a head-banging hurdy-gurdy player?
Exactly.
They have a new hurdy-gurdy from Anna's departures onwards. I think she's Polish. I think her name is Michalina Michalc or something like this. Correct me again if I'm wrong. And she actually gives breakdowns on YouTube. How do you play this very complicated instrument and how do you make it sound metal? You know, she's very cool. Anyway, so I think it's interesting. I've been reading some interviews and some reactions and so on. Many people seem to be slightly critical of the band for the fact that they don't always merge the folk with the death metal. Like they're too. They don't always match. I think in this last song and on the entire latest album, this Ategnatos, this mashup really works very well. But some of the previous productions may have been a little bit too divided. Like we have death metal songs and then we have folk songs and then death metal songs and then folk songs primarily.
Right, I can see that. I think one thing I'm curious about is it's almost hard to think like, you're seeing all these people play, but are you hearing all these instruments? I don't know. To me, it's like this is like a group of traveling minstrels.
Yeah, but I
don't know. I don't know where I can even hear the violin sometimes because there's so much other stuff going on. It's hard to break it apart. So together, I think it works. I think I really enjoy it.
It's an orchestra. You know, it's a sound. If any instrument I think will be withdrawn, you would feel that it's not complete, but you cannot pinpoint always unless it's a solo. What
I've always wanted to be the triangle player in an orchestra. I feel like that's something I could handle.
You can contact
maybe they need one.
See if they need an accent. You know, occasionally
like the guy with the drums.
Well, that's a typical Irish drum, or Celtic rather, Celtic drum.
But I didn't hear it. You don't really hear it. Like, you see the guy playing, but I don't hear where it is in the music. So.
And a lot of this is also, again, in the production. I say this repeatedly, but it's how you bring up or help some instruments be heard, acoustic instruments, in a sea of electric sounds. Like otherwise, obviously, you would never hear a acoustic drum close to the electric guitar, right? Like the electric guitar has so much more power. So it needs to be fiddled with, not to play too much on words. But I think altogether it's an interesting and very particular sound. Some people don't like it because of this lack of coherence and because they repeat themselves. Like a lot of the songs' compositions seem to be reoccurring. At the same time, there are many people, including myself, who really enjoy it. I get this energy, and it's a kind of concert that I would really, really love to see and dance around. I suppose.
I like it as well. I'm a fan.
So. Let us know in the comments if you are more of a fan or more of a critic of Eluveitie, or if you should have chosen some other songs. I think some people prefer the more growling elements. So again, recommend some of those. I was debating, of course, including some more because they've been around for some time, produced quite a lot of music, but this is what we have. So suggest also some other bands from other places that draw from folk traditions but bring a new interpretation. I think it's also pretty cool in general. But until then,
may your swords stay sharp
and your quest ending glory.